The East Troy Railroad Museum is located 30 miles southwest of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It showcases how important interurban railroads were to America as it evolved from a rural to an urban society. Turn-of-the-century America was a time of massive and rapid change. Early towns were centers for the local farming and ranching communities. As cities grew larger, the population needed a way to access the downtown areas. The streetcar was an early form of public transportation. Soon, the small towns growing outside the city needed a way to access the goods and services these cities provided. In 1896, the Milwaukee Electric Railway began building 191 miles of interurban rails to connect the towns with the city. The lines were centered in downtown and radiated out through fields and farms to cover 54 stations and towns. This had an appreciable effect on the nature and quality of small-town life. The railroad arrived in East Troy in 1907. That town is now home to the East Troy Railroad Museum.
The place was started in 1907 by the TMERNL, that stands for the Milwaukee Electric Railway and Light Company. It was a great place. Interurbans, there were 385 miles of interurban track in and around Milwaukee, and this was the end of the line going west. And if you look at this railroad, just like any other railroad, was such an integral part in forming the communities, forming the towns, and they shaped history, certainly around here.
The museum contains the original power substation and generator.
Because we have preserved the depot the way it is, the museum, the cars, we're living history. You can come in and you can go back in time, and we operate just like they used to, and gives people an idea of what was happening way back when. How did you take a train? What did a train look like? We punch tickets, we do it the old school way. We have a lot of guests, and a lot of which they like trains. They talk to their children, and their children likes trains, and they come out and experience a train.
I've been taking pictures of trains and videos since I was about 3. Mostly started when my mom used to take me to see the trains in like Naperville and stuff. And I just never grew out of it. I feel like they have a really cool history behind them. They're basically what built America. So I just think that the younger generation should take more of an interest in trains.
It's a real train. It's not the little HO in their basement. It's a real train. We have a whole wide variety of why people come here, but mainly it's because there's a train.
The museum welcomes 25,000 guests each year. The motorman on this train is Haley. She is one of 110 active volunteers.
I've been a volunteer out here since 2018. I actually got involved because of my now husband. We got engaged early 2018, and he was super slick, said, "Hey, come out for a train ride." I've been out here almost every Saturday since then. Currently, I'm the only female motorman, which is really cool. I'm working on recruiting and getting some other ladies out here with me. My job as a motorman really is about helping get the train down the rails.
The trains are powered by high voltage overhead wires. The cars make contact with those wires with the trolley pole. At the end of the line, the train is reversed and poles adjusted. First, the pole on the rear car is lowered. Then, the pole on what is now the rear car is raised. This is a turnout. It diverts trains to other tracks. First, the switch is unlocked. Then, a weighted lever is employed. This moves the points of the switch to direct the train to the correct track. It is then relocked.
There was the Lake Beulah Hotel. That's a story that when you go out on the line, you'll hear about that. The Lake Beulah Hotel, how it started, and most of its business came from the railroad. And then as history plays out, Henry Ford came along and developed the Model T, and everybody had a car, and now they didn't need the train.
Along with the automobile, interurban railroads were instrumental in the development of the suburbs.
So in 1985, the village said, hey, we got to shut the railroad down, we're going to scrap it. And the volunteers rallied together, and the Wisconsin Southern did a Save the Trolley Day. And they came down, there were 1,250 guests, and they raised enough money that on the January meeting in 1985, the volunteers were able to buy the railroad from the village, and here we are today.
So I'm the youngest volunteer here at the East Troy Railroad Museum. I'm actually 15 years old. My primary job here is I'm actually a docent on the trains. I'm there to answer any questions and explain the history. There's a lot of history behind the trains that we have, the different cars that we have, just the infrastructure and the rails that we're riding on.
Volunteers are also responsible for the restoration of vintage coaches. Their skills help preserve a vital part of our nation's history. The museum currently has 30 cars, of which 17 are in operation. The oldest car, number 26, is from 1908. The restorations are impeccable. This work is essential to preserving our heritage. While exteriors are beautiful, the interiors are also lovingly restored. For many, this is their first ride on an interurban. For others, riding these cars bring back fond memories of their first trip many decades ago. The train crew consists of the conductor and the motorman.
Keep your hands, feet, heads, anything else you want to keep with you inside the car at all times.
The conductor is in charge of safety rules and keeping the train on schedule.
We check our platform. I see people moving around there.
The motorman operates the train using the controller and the air brake.
Okay, tell me when you're ready. Okay, here we go.
The average speed was 65 miles per hour. The train stops at McWanago. Here, passengers can disembark and spend time shopping at the Elegant Farmer. It opened in 1947. Offerings include a gourmet farm kitchen bakery, deli, and market. Passengers can return on any car. The return trip is on car number 846. This car was built in 1920. The round trip out and back from East Troy is 6 miles. The air brake is used to slow the train. It was patented by Westinghouse in 1869 and had a major impact on railroad safety.
From 1985 to the current, we've been going really well. In 1995, actually it was about 97, we introduced a concept called a dinner train. Our dining experiences is just that. You come out, you have a meal on a vintage, restored, almost 100-year-old car that was converted into a dining. And when you come on that train, most people go, we had no idea that it was so elegant. So it is always a great experience. People come year after year after year, and they make that a tradition. So we have a lot of things, there's a lot of museums that have things, we just have them in their operating. This railroad, just like any other railroad, was such an integral part in forming the communities, forming the towns, and they shaped history.
A visit to East Troy offers much more than a train ride. It provides a living slice of American history.
Come on out and take a ride. The East Troy Electric Railroad and East Troy Railroad Museum.